In this video, we'll be explaining all breathing styles in Demon Slayer. There's a total of 14 unique breathing styles, and we're going to cover every single one, starting with the insect breathing. Insect breathing is a breathing style that mimics insects, specifically their lethal stings and movements, and replicates it with users' movements, technique, and abilities. Most known techniques and forms include stabbing, thrusting, and making shallow cuts with a specially made sword to inflict multiple wounds onto the intended target in order to inject various lethal wisteria-based poisons into them. This breathing style is the personal creation of Shinobu Kocho, who designed it to compensate for her lack of physical strength to behead a demon. Hence, this sword style can only be utilized by her and only using a unique katana with a needle-like tip, resembling an insect stinger in appearance and function. Insect breathing has 4 known techniques and forms at minimum. During the Natagomo Mountain arc in anime, Shinobu comes across one of the spider family demons. She leaps into the air and charges towards the opponent using butterfly dance and stings them multiple times with their blade to inject poison, successfully defeating the demon. Later on, when Shinobu fights against the upper rank 2, Doma, she uses 3 different forms of insect breathing. She charges at him using Dance of the Centipede, an attack with which the user uses their full speed to run a zigzag pattern that confuses their opponent in order to create an opening for them to directly stab their opponent's neck and inject poison to kill them. Doma noted that the sheer speed of this technique is strong enough to destroy an entire wooden bridge. With Doma being very tough to defeat, Shinobu puts all her hopes into Dance of the Dragonfly, a 6-strike attack with which the user aims to strike and inject their target with multiple doses of poison at the target's weak spots, such as the neck, heart, or torso, in order to kill them with a large dose of poison. Number 13. Flower breathing. Flower breathing is a breathing style derived from water breathing, used by the former flower Hashira Kane Kocho and her adoptive sister, Kanao. Techniques from the flower breathing style tend to emulate very flexible and graceful movement, further showing the influence of the water breathing style during the development of this style. Most known techniques and forms are a combination of graceful attacks named after flowers and fruits that optimize the user's agility and flexibility with their weapon and body. This breathing style also enhances and utilizes one's vision, albeit at the possible cost of their eyesight. The techniques are mostly circular in motion and allow the user to appear graceful in their movements, as each attack flows naturally from one action to another. Each movement is also meant to attack as a subterfuge, with many movements appearing as feints to hide the true killing blow. Flower breathing has at least 7 techniques, including the final form. During Kanao's fight against Doma, she uses 4 different forms of flower breathing, with the most notable one being the final form, Equinoctial Vermilion Eye, a focusing technique that raises the user's kinetic vision to its maximum. While using this technique, the user perceives the world as if it were in slow motion. Usage of the technique, however, is highly dangerous, as the tremendous strain on the eye could cause blood vessels to rupture and lead to partial or complete blindness. This technique is still usable even if the user has only one fully functional eye. Number 12. Serpent breathing. Serpent breathing is a breathing style that mimics serpents and snakes, specifically their slithering motions. Most known techniques and forms focus on twisting and bending the sword. The same way a serpent slithers, the attacks are not direct and constantly meander, which can ultimately strike anywhere. Users of serpent breathing visualize themselves seemingly creating serpents that accompany them when unleashing its techniques. Since this technique is currently known to only be utilized by Obanai Iguro, it can only be used with a twisted blade that is similar in appearance to an Indonesian kris sword, with the sword's shape modeled into the bodily structure of a snake. Serpent breathing has 5 known techniques, and we can see all 5 of them in Obanai's fight against Muzan. Number 11. Love breathing. Love breathing is a breathing style that is based on the emotion of love. Most techniques form a combination of whip-like attacks that utilize superhuman flexibility, dexterity, agility, and speed. This breathing style is the personal creation of Mitsuri Kanroji, made by altering the flame breathing that she learned from Rengoku. It takes advantage of her body's unique muscle density, which grants her inhuman strength, without making her physically bulky, to deliver fast and powerful blows while moving with incredible flexibility and agility. As it relies on her body's special composition, it is a style only she can use. It can also be assumed that this breathing style requires a whip-like katana. Love breathing has 6 techniques and forms, 4 of them which we see in the Swordsman Village arc, when Mitsuri battles against upper rank 4 Hantengu. She uses her 6th form, Cat-Legged Winds of Love, against Muzan, where she twirls upside down and creates multiple extending and slashing attacks before retracting it and extending it again, all within a very short amount of time. Number 10. Sound breathing. The only known user of this breathing style, Tengen Uzui, uses a technique developed using his superhuman sense of hearing called musical score, which involves Tengen reading his opponent's movements and deconstructing them into sound by analyzing their rhythm. Through this, he's able to take advantage of their openings to much greater effect by striking in a way similar to making the beat to a song. In conjunction with this, he uses small but powerful anti-demon bombs that are capable of damaging the bodies of upper-ranked demons. Since this combat style can only be used by Tengen, it can only be used with a specific set of weaponry, which is 2 gigantic Nichiren cleavers, each of which have a notch in the sharp ends of their blades, and they're held together at the hilt by a metal chain. His swords are said to have large amounts of explosive power, and it is stated that until Tengen's fight with Upper Rank 6, no one had ever survived a blow from them. Tengen Uzui plays major part in the Entertainment District arc, and during his fights with Upper Moon 6, Daki, and Gyutaro, we were able to see 3 different forms of his sound breathing. First form, roar. Tengen lifts his twin swords above his head and slams him down with great force. Fourth form, constant resounding slashes. Tengen holds his swords apart and spins them rapidly in conjunction with releasing his bombs. Fifth form, string performance. Tengen holds one of his swords with a reverse grip and spins the other using the chain that connects them. He couples this by also releasing numerous bombs to detonate. Number 9. Beast breathing. Beast breathing is a breathing style personally created and self-taught by Inosuke Hashibita after living in the mountains and fighting for survival. It is said to be distantly derived from wind breathing. The style enhances a user's sense of touch while being able to utilize several different techniques. Beast breathing mimics beasts and wild animals, specifically their unpredictable and wild nature, including movements, attacks, and senses, and replicates it. Most, if not all, known techniques and forms are simple, straightforward, yet wild, unpredictable, and animalistic movements and attacks. Beast breathing has 10 known techniques with an improvisation technique created during Inosuke's fight with Doma. His strongest form is arguably the 7th form, spatial awareness, where Inosuke utilizes his sense of touch to identify the position of enemies and their weaknesses by feeling small disturbances in the air. This technique was so strong that Inosuke could sense all the demons spread out through a whole mountain. Number 8. Mist breathing. Mist breathing is a breathing style derived from the wind breathing used only by the mist hashira Muichiro Tokito. Muichiro is noted to have completely mastered this breathing style, having become proficient in its usage to the point where he could easily fight and overwhelm upper rank 5. He is even capable of creating an entirely new 7th form to this style. Muichiro wears baggy clothing that covers his arms and legs in order to obscure his movements. It can be assumed that most other users would also have to wear clothing that hides their limbs from their enemy in order to fully maximize the potential of this breathing style. Mist breathing originally has 6 known forms and techniques, and a 7th one created and only utilized by the current mist hashira, Muichiro. During a swordsman village arc, Muichiro battles against upper rank 5 Gyoko. Muichiro uses mist breathing. 5th form, Sea of Clouds and Haze, landing a blow on Gyoko's neck. Later during this fight, we also see his 6th and 3rd forms. In the end, Gyoko used his blood demon art and Muichiro responded with the form he personally developed, mist breathing. 7th form, obscuring clouds. When Gyoko tried to find him in a sea of mist, Muichiro effortlessly decapitated him. Number 7. Wind breathing. Wind in manga and anime is often shown to have characteristics that can cut and sever, and is often represented to be an offensive element. The wind breathing technique is one of the 5 main breathing techniques that is directly derived from the sun breathing style, and is shown to be the most offensive style, sacrificing a lot of defense for raw attack power. In Demon Slayer, users of the wind breathing techniques are very rarely seen, with only 2 users mentioned and only 1 ever shown in battle, the wind hashira Sanemi Shinazugawa. The techniques and fighting style favor quick and unrelenting attacks even if the user is taking damage. During the fight with the upper moon, Sanemi was seen taking an inordinate amount of damage whilst dealing plenty of blows himself, further proving that this style heavily favors offense at the total disregard for defense while the user is attacking. His body being covered by countless scars further lends to this theory. Wind breathing has a minimum of 9 known techniques and forms. The techniques that are part of the wind breathing style all use wide arcs and circular motions in their attack patterns. They are seen as gusts of wind or tornadoes, with multiple blades radiating from the user in a rotating fashion, each capable of severely damaging an opponent continuously. In Sanemi's case, each attack is visualized as a green torrent of wind. While the techniques are often seen as offensive techniques, Sanemi has used these defensively by brute forcing or using an equal amount of force to offset an opponent's attack, negating them. The form also requires some measures of acrobatics from the user, as Sanemi was shown to jump, spin, and even backflip around in order to execute an attack. Number 6. Water breathing. Most people consider Sakonji Orokodaki to be the master of the water breathing technique, having taught many notable students including Tanjiro and the current water Hashira Gyu Tomioka. The technique is the most beginner-friendly, which is perhaps why Tanjiro was able to pick up this breathing style without having any knowledge of fighting beforehand. Tanjiro relies almost exclusively on water breathing for the majority of Demon Slayer's first season, allowing him to take care of most tough demons by remembering his teachings and understanding when to pull off the techniques he's learned. While water breathing does help Tanjiro out in the early stages, he reaches his limit with this style during his fight against Rui, where the lower rank 4 demon shows just how hopelessly outclassed the protagonist really was. In season 1 of anime, we get to see Tanjiro use 10 different water breathing forms. During his fight against Kyogai, Tanjiro found himself at a disadvantage due to the revolving room where he had to fight this powerful demon. However, he unleashed a splashing water flow, which allowed him to deliver powerful slashes without having to stay still on the ground for too long. This complex footwork is hard to execute, but Tanjiro's zeal allowed him to get the better of his foe and deliver a fatal slash that decided the victor of this battle once and for all. One of the coolest water breathing techniques was pulled off by Tanjiro in his fight against the lower moon Rui. After being pushed to his limits, Tanjiro unveiled his powerful 10th form, Constant Flux. This 10th form allows users to execute a continuous flowing attack, taking on the form of a water dragon as they did so. Each consecutive sword slice became more and more powerful due to the force of the momentum that increased with each rotation. The strongest water breathing form that we got to see so far is 11th form Dead Calm. This unique water breathing technique is the original handiwork of the water Hashira Gyu Tomioka. Watching this 11th form in action against Rui was a visual treat for the ages. Number 5. Thunder breathing. It has been marked by Zenitsu that this breathing style focuses on channeling strength into the user's legs and maximizing the output of every single muscle and blood vessel in them. Users also mimic lightning to such high fidelity that they can cause the air to vibrate when poised to unleash a technique and create immensely loud sounds akin to thunder with their mere footsteps. A known cultivator of thunder breathing in the Demon Slayer Corps is the former Thunder Hashira Jigoro Kuwajima. He taught this breathing style to Zenitsu and Kaigaku. Thunder breathing has 6 standard forms in total, with the first form said to be the foundation for all the other forms. However, Zenitsu developed a 7th form in order to stand on equal ground with Kaigaku, his former senior disciple who had become the upper rank 6 of the 12 Kizuki. While thunder breathing has 7 forms in total, fans have been mostly seeing only the first form, Thunderclap and Flash. Zenitsu honed this form to perfection, ultimately developing 3 variations, 6-fold, 8-fold, and Godspeed. Godspeed is one of Zenitsu's strongest techniques. It's essentially the first form while greatly augmenting the speed of the technique. During the first display of this technique, an unconscious Zenitsu remarked that he mustn't perform this technique more than 2 times, otherwise his legs would be rendered. He later created 7th form Flaming Thunder God himself, which allows him to dash forward at blinding speeds and unleash a singular forward slash, which is seemingly accompanied by a yellow Japanese dragon shaped like a lightning bolt. Number 4. Stone breathing. In Demon Slayer, we have only ever seen one user of the stone breathing style. The only user of this style is also undoubtedly the strongest Demon Slayer in the current generation, Gyome Himejima, the Stone Pillar. The techniques of stone breathing are often simple but very strong attacks that can easily break rocks and stones, and in one instance even able to break the weapon of the Upper Moon Demon. In addition, the techniques also offer fairly good defensive stances that allow the user to stand their ground and create a seemingly impenetrable barrier that can prevent even the strongest attacks from piercing through. While the techniques and style themselves may appear to be quite mundane, it's when they are used by Gyome in combination with his weapon that makes this style truly unique and fearsome. Gyome utilizes a rather unconventional Nichiren weapon. Instead of a standard katana, Gyome favors a spiked flail and axe combination that is joined via a long chain where the entirety of the weapon, including the chain, is made of the same material used in making Nichiren blades. Stone breathing has 5 known techniques and forms, which were all performed by Gyome during the fight with upper rank 1 Kokushibu. One of the most interesting forms in my opinion is the 3rd form, Stone Skin, which allows a user to unleash a series of slashes with his axe, deflecting nearby attacks. Number 3. Flame breathing. Most of the flame breathing techniques are powerful single target strikes accompanied by a rapid unidirectional movement. Flame breathing allows the user to move extremely quickly and even fast enough to produce after effects that mimic flames. This makes the opponents burn, causing further damage after the initial attack lands. During the events of the Mugen Train arc, Rengoku was able to move through several train cars in an instant, and when defending civilians, he alone was able to protect up to 9 train carriages by himself, while a lower number required Nezuko and Zenitsu to team up. This is even more impressive considering Zenitsu used thunder breathing, which focuses on quick and rapid movements, but was still unable to keep up with Rengoku. During Rengoku's fight with Akaza, upper rank 3, we see him performing a total of 6 forms of the flame breathing style. In total, there are 9 forms, 3 of which were not revealed. Rengoku's 9th form, Purgatory, is the strongest flame breathing form. The technique had enough power to carve a deep impression that burnt the ground where it was unleashed. This technique seemingly took the form of a fiery Japanese dragon that envelopes the user while charging towards the target. Number 2. Moon breathing. This technique allows the user to create many chaotic blades when slashing that vary in length and size. Like all of the other original breathing styles, the moon breathing also branched out of the sun breathing when its creator, Michikatsu Tsugikuni, attempted to learn the sun breathing from his twin brother, Yorichi. He discovered he was unable to master the breathing style and was instead trained in an alternate breathing style. Yorichi created it to fit his individual strengths and weaknesses, and Michikatsu then continued to train and develop this breathing until it eventually evolved into its own unique breathing style, which he named moon breathing. It is known that Kokushibo continued to develop and add techniques to this breathing style over the centuries as an immortal demon. It is the only known breathing style to possess at least 16 different techniques, easily surpassing the other styles. This breathing style is only used by upper rank 1, Kokushibo, who was one of the first demon slayers who utilized total concentration breathing. When he became a demon, he improved his breathing style using his blood demon art, which he used to create dozens of tangible crescent moons from his sword, each of them as sharp as blades, making this breathing style one of the most powerful in the entire series. Number 1. Sun breathing. The Hinokami Kagura is a breathing style that is passed on from father to son in every generation alongside the Hanafuda earrings. The Kamado family uses the breathing style within a ritual ceremony practiced every new year, where the breathing style user offers the fire god a dance from sunset to sunrise to ward off threats and diseases. The Hinokami Kagura is later revealed by Shinjiro Rengoku to be breathing style known as sun breathing, a legendary and forgotten breathing style and the first one ever created. All other breathing styles are derived from it as the result of Yorichi, the creator of sun breathing, modifying it to suit the individuals he taught. Both the Hinokami Kagura and sun breathing are breathing styles that mimic the sun and replicate it with the user's movements, techniques, and abilities. All techniques and forms are extremely varied and have no set pattern, making it the most versatile and effective against demons. Sun breathing was initially created with 12 techniques, all connected to one another by Yorichi. Later, upon meeting Muzan Kibutsuji, Yorichi perfected his swordsmanship form, creating a new unnamed 13th form. The 13th form allows Yorichi to continuously perform all 12 forms of sun breathing in repetitive succession to increase the accuracy and agility of his movements while reducing fatigue. The repetition of all 12 forms aims to destroy Muzan's 12 vital organs, 7 hearts, and 5 brains that move freely inside his body. If you like this video, click here to learn about every demon moon in Demon Slayer.